We're down to our last solution discussion of the main session before we go to our breakouts. And this one is an interesting one in that, a customer of ours, DialSource, really was dealing with compliance around industry regulations. And a lot of times when we talk about the cloud and cool technologies, you'll see us spend a lot of time on the tech, but the reality is all of this stuff comes together, and this compliance situation is a big deal for just about every company as they look at technology in the cloud. And so we thought it'd be good to get a customer come in to talk about how with Rackspace they've been solving this compliance issue through IT transformation. So what I will do is actually right now quickly play a video just to introduce you to DialSource, and then we will introduce our speaker. So here's the video.
DialSource is the global leading telephony technology for Salesforce.com. We have written telephony languages natively to Salesforce, thus flattening the stacks of CRM, database, and telephony so that we can automate intelligently who to call, why to call in sales, service, accounts receivable, and upon making the phone call, measure the analytics and automate the necessary sales and service processes that are required by our organizations but are often not logged in Salesforce. And it allows our technology to additionally automate related systems inside of Salesforce, like billing engines, contract management systems, all from a single click of a button. This was not something that we had anticipated as a group to become an enterprise class solution used by many of the largest organizations on the planet. As we had rapid growth, our providers were unable to keep up with the rapid demand of the technology. We had issues of scale, we had issues of telephony quality, and at that point we reevaluated our relationship with those particular vendors and decided to move to Rackspace around the end of 2009. And as a result of that, and the fanatical support provided by Rackspace, we've been able to provide an unrivaled quality of service, which is why our technology is rated #1 telephony solution for Salesforce, #2 support application for Salesforce, #6 application on sales, and the 8th ranked overall application in all categories for Salesforce. Because of the fanatical support we were provided by Rackspace, we were able to concentrate on the development of the application, the hiring of the talent, and not the management of the IT infrastructure. It would not be a stretch whatsoever to say that Rackspace is one of our, if not most important, strategic relationships so that we can target our goals, engineer our software, and bring it to market without the worry of will the architecture and the infrastructure support the demand of our deployment schedules.
All right, so with that, please join me in welcoming Joshua Tillman, the CEO of DialSource.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody, for taking the time to listen to our presentation and the problems that we are solving with the assistance of Rackspace. I would first like to thank Rackspace for the diligent work that they've done with our engineering teams over the last several years and had the confidence to invite us to share our success story. DialSource, as I mentioned in the testimonial video that we did for Rackspace, helps to streamline the sales and service processes that these sales and service agents are supposed to be doing inside of Salesforce at the end of their conversations. And as we all know, we would like these individual agents to be logging them so that management has the appropriate transparency to make intelligent decisions moving forward. We started DialSource about 10 years ago out of a research paper that I had written in conjunction with the University of California, Davis, and Berkeley on flattening telephony architecture and infrastructure. And as a result of that paper, we wound up recruiting a handful of engineering friends. We built some early prototypes, and in, I'd say, 2006, we had a functional product into market. And in a very short time frame, we had quite a bit of interest from many of the largest enterprise entities around the planet. And in 2007, we were actually contacted directly by Salesforce.com to take this unique telephony language and write it native into their platform and their architecture. And in doing so, it allows us to increase compliance, it allows us to streamline activities, and it allows DialSource to sequence other systems at the end of the conversations. Now, a bit of a backstory about the company with the paper that we had written and the prototypes we had built and the initial products that we took to market, we started building the DialSource product. And now in conjunction with Rackspace Assistance, we're working on the DialSource version 3 of our product. And the version 3 is a big milestone. After 11 years, we're getting ready to release this product into market. And the DialSource version 3 will be able to do sophisticated outbound calling, inbound calling, call routing based on skills and fields into the CRMs such as Salesforce, and will also have international support for calling and automation as well. Now, as I had mentioned previously, we started this as a paper with the University of California. We were just a bunch of nerds together, screwing around on a project, and we got some good results from it. And in 2010, we released DialSource onto the Salesforce App Exchange. And within a matter of a few weeks, we were ranked in the #1 telephony application. And since 2010, we've only increased that lead. But we have been working in other avenues besides just in sales and service, as mentioned in the video. We rank in top categories in both service, support, and related categories. Now, we have been fortunate enough to generate several strategic partnerships over the last decade, and so Rackspace is definitely a very, very important partnership for us. But we've also been able to develop a partnership with the NBA. The Sacramento Kings were one of the very first professional sports teams to adopt Salesforce and major technology components. And so in about 2.5 years ago, the Sacramento Kings adopted DialSource, and the results that they were able to derive were quite impressive, if I say so. The Sacramento Kings were able to increase their live connections to the appropriate leads and appropriate contacts and revenue opportunities by 500% in the first 90 days of adoption of DialSource. And as a result of getting the right people on the phone with the right information to make intelligent decisions, the Sacramento Kings were able to increase arena attendance 20% year over year, and now pack their arena every single game at 96% capacity. This also helped the Sacramento Kings go from number 17 in ticket sales to number 1 in net new season ticket sales by using Salesforce and DialSource, and of course by our hosted infrastructure and our partnership with Rackspace. Another strategic partnership that has been exceedingly influential to the growth and scale of DialSource has been with the University of California. So while we wrote the paper and built the company out of the University of California a decade ago, we have gone back in to recruit the best talent that the University of California can produce. And so we now have the first PhD internship program with the University of California, where they are pumping in PhD computer scientists, engineers, masters in business administration, psychologists, and so this allows us to bring in highly intelligent, highly motivated individuals and provide an unrivaled quality of support and service to our clients, which is why we were able to get to the top of the App Exchange, sit at the top of the App Exchange, and continue to create that benefit over everybody else. The vision of DialSource is to simply change the way in which the enterprise communicates. We want to be able to flatten the channels and eliminate the silos such that all the right information is being created, called, logged, and then being used for management to make the intelligence decisions moving forward. But in doing so, and in attempting to achieve this goal, we had issues in the mid-2000s relating our hardware infrastructure, and our vendors at the time could not keep up with the scale of our technology, and so we very much needed to reevaluate that situation and align ourselves with somebody who could handle our fast pace of growth, development, and requirements of hardware, and that's when we began to do business with Rackspace in 2009, and it has been just an absolute key component of why we've been able to achieve what we have. Now, when we had built this many years ago, we were running on dedicated hardware hosted at Rackspace due to technical reasons of the complicated telephony infrastructure. And so we have been able to work very closely with a lot of the engineering teams at Rackspace over perhaps the last 1.5 to 2 years as we are preparing our DialSource version 3. And we're taking advantage of many of the bleeding edge technology technology stacks that Rackspace are experts in and can facilitate introductions to. And so in our new DialSource version 3, we're going to be moving away from the dedicated hardware completely into newer technologies such as Core OS and Docker and containers. So we don't have to deal with the challenges of scale that has hindered us over the last several years, where we might have to say we need to put in a large cluster, and in order to put this cluster together, it can take several weeks to install it, configure it, deploy it, set up the appropriate languages, and get it into the production environments. And so by moving into these newer technologies and being able to virtualize the components that required hardware previously is allowing us to develop. It's allowing us to focus on writing top-class technology, not managing the infrastructure, not managing the architecture. And in doing so, we're able to continue to grow in scale while reducing costs and marginally increasing headcount as a way. And these congruent strategies and strategic partnerships have allowed us to punch well above our weight in terms of size of our organization. Now, while we are a moderately sized organization, we have very good talent on staff and have basically an unlimited group of skilled technicians at Rackspace that will manage and deploy the hardware, work with our engineering team to make sure that our area experts are writing the code that continues to push DialSource to one of the leading technologies in communication. Now, in some of the previous problems that we had to address, and of course we have to readdress this moving from our first versions, our second version, and now our third version, are these performance bottlenecks. And as I had mentioned in the video, the poor audio quality. And so we had to ask ourselves, when we were having problems scaling our technology in the late 2000s, is the technology going to be quickly to deploy? Is the technology going to be easy to use? If there is a problem with the technology, who is going to know how to fix the technology? And how fast can we provide that solution to our clients? And so in originally adopting Rackspace for DialSource, we went there for the partnership in providing and managing the hardware. But after several years of working very closely with them, our partnership with them blossomed much more than just simply a managed provider. And clearly, not only is Rackspace the best in their field, but their fanatical support goes above and beyond in every option that they can and every chance they can to make sure that we are successful. If there are problems on the back end or on the hardware, Rackspace is fast enough to be able to identify these issues, get in contact with our engineering team, and solve these issues in seconds before it ever even reaches clients. And if they hadn't, we wouldn't be sitting at the top of the App Exchange with such great reviews, because everybody in the room knows that people don't go out of their way to leave great reviews most often. They usually complain about the problems that they're experiencing. So we work strategically with our partners like Rackspace, and then we have learned from them how to be able to replicate this within our environments and how we work with our clients so that we can provide a similar quality of service to the best of our ability in working with the users of DialSource. As I'd mentioned, the top-tier fanatical support by Rackspace, I can't be pedantic enough of how much we appreciate their support. One of the issues for us, and at the top of our concern, is uptime. And by having the best-in-class hardware and the best-in-class engineers at Rackspace, we are able to provide an uptime that has been unrivaled and provides us head and shoulders above our competition, which is another reason why we sit at the top of the App Exchange by being a reliable solution that's always doing what it is supposed to be doing. We provide the support to our clients and then are always proactively doing what we do best, which is we are a software engineering firm at our core. And so by focusing on the development of the technology and the implementation of the technology and listening to the features that our clients wish to have allows us to actually put those functions into market and into production, while Rackspace makes sure that our facilities, our hardware, are being managed properly. The engineering services that we have been provided by Rackspace have been phenomenal. They are top-notch in every single expertise, and when we want to push the envelope further than where our competition is in order to be able to provide better technology, better results, we can rely on several of these teams within Rackspace to do that. And so this performance by Rackspace in both their hardware and in the technicians and engineers they have at our disposal 24/7, 365 has allowed us to perform similarly with unmatched performance and speed within communications of the enterprise for Salesforce. Managing horizontal scale was very difficult for us to achieve as the demand for DialSource outstripped our ability to supply it in 2010, 11, and 12. And so in managing the hardware and focusing up on the software has allowed us to bring in the right talent. It has allowed us to solidify other partnerships just past Rackspace as well. And so I would say that if I had to give some advice here on how to address these issues, it is to be proactive and to be flexible in your architecture, your infrastructure, and for the elasticity of the demand of the technology. And so with that being said, with a few minutes left in my presentation, Rackspace was kind enough to work on facilitating a case study with how the NBA and the Sacramento Kings utilize DialSource, where the president of operations and ticket sales talk about this. And in closing, after we play the video here, I will close up with a few of pieces of advice.
Sacramento. We've been very focused on what we call NBA 3.0. We've been focused on, among other things, how can we use technology to enhance the fan experience, and how can we use technology to improve our performance both on and off the court.
As the Sacramento Kings prepare to open the world's smartest arena, you can imagine the type of demand that we have for people who want to be a part of that. This is a game changer for the city and the region, and there are thousands of people who want to be in a seat on opening night. In fact, we're currently sourcing a list of all the people who want more information and want to guarantee that they have that seat. So for us, using a tool like DialSource is so key to that process.
The work we're doing with DialSource is really central to our overall philosophy of how we can become more efficient or more analytical, or truly just how can we do things smarter in a faster way.
With DialSource, the Sacramento Kings are able to become a supercharged, more efficient sales organization. We're able to make 10 times the amount of dials that we would make in a typical day. We've had a 500% increase in our live connections, which means that my staff is spending most of their day actually talking to people versus leaving voicemails, or versus dialing the phone, or versus searching out who's the next person I should call. DialSource does all that for us behind the scenes so that their time is best spent talking to live people. In fact, overall, we now see that we get 20% of our season ticket sales directly attributable to our DialSource activity. For our sales staff, it takes a lot of the guesswork out of their hands. It's not just a speed dialer. They're getting teed up who to call, when to call, why to call. It makes them so much smarter, which allows them more time on the back end to go out and prospect and find new leads and nurture their current leads in a whole new way. It's made us more efficient. It's made our reps more confident. I don't know where we'd be without it.
And so this is just an example as the business processes. While there's likely no other NBA teams in the room, we have deployed DialSource across professional sports and are doing so at an increasing rate. And so while they are selling suites to businesses and season ticket sales, the takeaway point here is that their sales and their service reps need to be able to talk to the right people about the right topics, solve the right problems for these leads and these contacts, and then conduct a series of processes inside of Salesforce, updating fields, sending emails, triggering the billing for the season ticket sales. And so management has the ability to configure this very sophisticated post-call automation in a few clicks of a few buttons inside of Salesforce. No programming is necessary. It's just pick lists and drop-downs. And so these things scale, whether you're using Salesforce, whether you're using another CRM, you have these processes. And so DialSource helps to streamline that. And so takeaway here is I would advise anybody who's looking at their managed hosting to consider not just a cost analytic. And I know from firsthand experience, Rackspace I would say, is the lowest cost solution. And I say that not from just from a pure dollar perspective. I say that because we spent several years fighting fires as the demand and scale for DialSource wasn't working well. And so by working closely with Rackspace and going to the top of the market, we were able, again, to focus up on the engineering and focus up on the software and then provide the results. And once we tackled that hurdle, then we were able to just continue to get one result after the other, whether it be Wall Street, whether it be a lot of names in technology, whether it be professional sports. And so I definitely recommend Rackspace. I can't recommend Rackspace enough. We definitely would not be where we are today if we did not have the strategic partnership with Rackspace. And that being said, I'd like to give a special thanks for Rackspace to flying us out from California to share our story with those in the room about what Rackspace has done for us and what we continue to innovate and solve for in the future. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, we have made it to our breakouts. We have 3 breakouts scheduled. You will see that some of the breakouts are here in the main stage, so you can just stay in this room. The other 2 breakouts are in studios, which there are signs for outside of the room, depending on which one you choose to go to. There'll be about a 5-minute break from now, and then, or 5 minutes to kind of get in. We are running a little bit behind. Essentially, when the 3rd one is done, if you join us back here, we will wrap the day, and then we have a great reception planned just following. So thank you for your time and attention so far today. We really do hope you enjoy the breakouts. Have a good time in the breakouts, and we'll see you back here after the 3rd breakout. Thanks.